Showtime.
It's about that time.
Let's go.
You're right where you need to be. This is GCOM Radio.
Hardest radio station on the planet. Yeah.
Powered by Lyfeblood.com.
We certified.
And hosted by Nova Phoenix.
Give them that flavor.
Ryan Little.
All right, folks. What's going on? What is the happenings? What is the latest? What is the deal that's going on in your life? I know this is a late throw up. Yeah, my bad. That's on me. But I'm here for you one more time for this week, just knocking it out. And I can't believe it. The last few weeks of 2022. It is amazing how far we've come. You close your eyes, you keep your head down, you're doing your thing, how fast time goes. Sometimes it is a criminal crawl. How should I say it? My bad. Sometimes it feels like forever when the short period of time comes, or whatever you're doing that you don't like doing. But when you do like doing something and it's a part of who you are, it is amazing how fast time goes. Man, I'm glad you guys are here with me. I appreciate everyone that listens to the show, that's tuned in. I'm trying to figure out bigger and better ways to get it out to as much people as possible. But for those that are in the crowd, thank you to everybody that's across all the social media platforms. Speaking of social media, everybody knows what's happening in Twitter. Oh man, it is crazy what's going on with Twitter. It is almost like a dumpster fire what we're hearing, what's going on. But let me just get into introducing the show. Yes, I am your host, Nova Phoenix, on GCOM Radio, on iHeartRadio. And we just going to talk about Twitter before we got into it. I always got to do the introduction. What is going on with Twitter? That's not even the topic. That's the only two things I was going to talk about right now. I was going to talk about Black Panther, which I saw last weekend. It was a great movie, and also get into this whole FTX Sam Bankman-Fried thing. For those that do not know what's going on, Sam Bankman-Fried is going on with FTX, the exchange platform that he had. That's the only two things I was going to talk about because it was going to take up my time. But yeah, I just decided to talk about Twitter, which I'm going to talk about now because it's like, I'm on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook anymore. So my main social media site that I go on right now is Twitter, and it's crazy what's happening. It is absolutely amazing what is taking place on Twitter right now. Ever since Elon Musk bought it, whether I don't know, it could be. He could be ahead of the curve and being a super genius in what he's doing at Twitter, or he is in a megalomaniacal, evil. What do you want to call it? What's my man from Superman? Lex Luthor type doings and what's happening, what he's doing with Twitter, man. Because everything that's on the Twitter feed that I'm seeing, where he's doing like, get with the program and get fired, and everybody counting down, and 75% of the workforce got cut out, and him trying to do the blue check thing, and that was an utter failure. And to what else? Trying to get Trump back on there, doing a poll, and surprisingly so, a lot of people want Trump back on, but I don't think he really posed because I don't know where he posed the question of should Donald Trump be reinstated. Now that can be meaning being reinstated as a president, or is he talking about being reinstated on the platform? Regardless of that, people said it was 52%. Or something like that people wanted him to get back on. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. But that's who we are. That's America, man. That is America. You're dealing with a lot of isms that people are hiding expertly, or just being are very open with it. Either way, they are down with racism, and then that's America, man. That is America. And I talk to America across the board. I talk to everybody from whatever background you are from, racially, ethnically, religiously. Whoever that you are, I don't care who you are. I talk to you guys. I talk to everyone, and it's amazing that America does not, will not, can't deal with its own racism. It's a part of its DNA, and that's just something that we got to accept. And when I saw that number, I'm like, wow. So this dude orchestrated the whole insurrection, and people are behind him 110%. That's who we are. So yeah, I hate when presidents be like, well, that's not who we are. And when, shooting up of children's schools, well, that's not who we are. And, they saying it's always the same statement that you come from presidents or high officials or something. They always say, that's not who we are. That's exactly who we are. That is exactly who we are. Just to take a step back, from all the civilizations, from all the major empires that have sprouted up and flourished through human history, can we say they have been any different from the United States? I really want to pose a question. Can we say any other civilization or empire that, regardless of where that empire is from, if it's in Europe, Africa, China, South America, Central America, however you want to put it, has any other empire in its past been in it? A lot of times we kind of crap on America because we live here, but not taking into consideration all the other empires that have existed. Have they been the same way? I don't know. I can't answer that right now. It's just some question that I'm just really throwing out to everyone out there. Can we actually say empires that have existed in the past, have they been any different? Have they been any worse? I don't know. I can't say. When I know this is just movies. I know that Mel Gibson did a movie on the ancient Mexican civilization. What was it? Right before the Europeans first came to this country. Let me see. I forgot the name of it. Gibson. Mexican. Let me see. What was it called? Apocalypto. That's what it was. And, I know this is all movies, right? So we got to be real careful what we take from Hollywood. But in it, there were some, I saw Apocalypto, and I got to say, it was a massively made movie. I can't front. Even though I'm not a big Mel Gibson fan, I can, as far as the work that was done, Apocalypto was a great movie. And then, in the movie, it showed, this movie came out in 2006. In the movie, it showed that, they made a lot of sacrifices to the gods, and, heads got cut off, and, there was mutilations on public display with everyone there because they felt it was necessary. The people in power felt it was necessary in order to save the city or the empire, however you want to put it. And that was a part of, what those people were. Now, again, this is Hollywood, so I don't know exactly, but I know in the history books, human beings have been cruel. Human beings have done disgusting things to other human beings, across racial lines, from across the countries, borderlines, whatever you want to put it. So, as much as we do dump on America from all the wrong that they've done and continue to do, how different is America from many other the empires that has come by? So, not to say that we can't be highly critical of how they move, because we exist in it, and there are people that are suffering, and there's no reason why people should suffer. So yeah, that's just a random thought that I had. But anyway, let me just get into that Twitter thing. So I don't know, people, it was a big trend for, saying bye Twitter and, good night Twitter and that's it Twitter and blah, 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 blah. And, it's still on the top charts as far as the hashtag. So, I mean, is Twitter going anywhere? I don't know. Who knows? People are still hanging on to Twitter and they're using it, and people like using Twitter, and they're saying they give it about a full week because the amount of employees that have been cut down, they really can't man the stations to really deal with all of the issues that could come about from maintaining a large site like what Twitter is. So I don't know. Who knows if Twitter is going to hang around? If it does, I really don't care. I don't know why people hang on to Twitter as if, another platform can't come up. And and the funny thing is, I don't know why there aren't more platforms out there already that's, shaving off some of the followers off of the main sites like Facebook and Twitter. I'm like, how come they're not out there? I mean, I use Fanbase. That's like a black-owned social media site, but that's it. That's the only ones. I can't think of any new social media platforms that are out there right now that is on a come up. The last one that I heard that we can kind of say is a social media platform was Clubhouse, that really started to make waves, but soon enough, they took the feature. All the major social media platforms took that Clubhouse feature, and then they just made it incorporated it in part of the DNA of the major social media platforms. So, Clubhouse lost a lot of its luster when people found out. It was like, oh, that's just a social media feature that we can add on. That's no big deal. That's not impossible. So, and I don't use Clubhouse because how it all came up. So I'm not a big Clubhouse user. Besides the fact that, now that feature's on Twitter and everybody uses Twitter. So I don't know. I'm just amazed that there are not more social media platforms that are out there that's really doing the do. Again, all I can think of is Twitter. And you have Facebook, you have IG, you have TikTok that came up. And what else? That's it. And then you have Clubhouse, but I don't really use Clubhouse. Is not even in my orbit, and I don't hear nobody talking about Clubhouse like that. So I don't even consider it something that's that's even slightly competitive. I don't see it, man. I don't see it. I posted there's a lot of black owned social media sites, including my own, that's out there. I put it on IG. But again, as far as having the full backing of a VC, and it's really making waves, I just don't see it. I mean, please feel free to hit me on IG or YouTube or anything else, and let me know what's really out there that people are talking about and jumping to. Like I don't think Twitter is going anywhere, but I'm saying, like, what's out there? I don't know what's out there. That's, like I said, that's VC backed, making waves. They're marketing, getting things out there. They're, really trying to do something different, and that not unlike what I'm doing. And I have, as everybody knows at this point, I have a social media platform that I'm building, trying to get some VC funding from, and really building that up. And there's a whole business model that I want to implement as part of Lyfeblood.com, especially in the Web3 space. So yeah, that can really turn the page to social media platforms, just like how Apple did. When Apple first came out with the smartphone, it revolutionized mobile phones. And all the other phone companies had to literally bow down, put their knee down and be like, wow, well, you know what? Yeah, Apple's really doing something different and cutting edge, and they're really beating us out to the point now everything has reached an equilibrium. You have a lot of phone companies right now that's pretty much, in a lot of ways, arguably better than Apple. I'm an Apple owner. I don't plan to leave Apple. I love the iPhone. But, if I ever wanted to leave, there are a lot of other companies that are just as good. But like I said, in terms of social media, I don't see any other social media platform that's new, up and coming, that's VC backed, that's making waves, and the marketing in some way doesn't have to be huge marketing, but they're getting the word out. So that's all we have. I just don't understand it. I don't get why we're not doing anything different. I'm such at a loss for words right now, because I'm like, there's only the big 3 or 4, and there's nothing stopping anyone from creating another platform and doing something different. Like, if you don't like what's happening, because and on top of that, people are complaining about Facebook. People are complaining about Facebook. People are complaining about Twitter, especially now with what Elon Musk is doing. People didn't care about Clubhouse, and they're like, whatever. And, people complain about it a little bit. The newness where it wore off, and now, people don't talk about it as much. And TikTok. TikTok is and then the thing with TikTok, a lot of the politicians are saying we're trying to cut TikTok out because TikTok is a Chinese company, and the word is a video going around where there was an interview, I think it was on 2020, where this guy is saying that the TikTok is really how should I say, they're through the algorithm, they are directing certain videos towards young American adults on dances and things that don't really mean anything, really small, insignificant things. It's eye candy. It really is not going to encourage you to be better humans. But the TikTok in China, it is a curated where they talk about science and STEM and all of these things that improve you as a human being. And they did a study, and they're saying that what young Americans want to do with their lives, those that are exposed to TikTok, and I think they're saying dancing or something real, like small and whatever. And then they asked the Chinese kids, and they said the number one thing that they want to do to the young generation exposed to their version of TikTok is being astronauts. Crazy. And it says a lot. That does say a lot. And so there's a lot of that energy swirling around TikTok, and between trying to shut them down and then knocking TikTok at the same time. So again, why aren't there more social media platforms if that's the case? I mean, there's 8 billion people on this planet. There's enough room for everybody. So why aren't there more? I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, no one's throwing something at the wall and seeing if it sticks. No one's giving it a try. With all this talk about, what they don't like with the current social media platforms. Why is that so hard? Is it hard? No VC is trying something new? Huh? None? Nobody is like really with this whole thing that's happening with Twitter, and everybody was fearing that it was going to shut down. And the reason why I like to deal with Twitter, because there's a lot of VCs that are on there that use the platform. Like, no one is saying absolutely nothing. No VC is saying, you know what, we don't like it either. We want to fund a new social media site. Please, anyone that's out there, holler at us. Let's look at some pitch decks, and let's see if we can make something new. Do something different. None. Absolutely none. That is amazing. That is amazing to me. And maybe I'll put that on Twitter. I don't get it. I don't get it. Why are we listening to only 3 or 4, or being active on only 3 or 4 platforms, social media platforms? And if another 5 come out and they fail, well, that's just business. That's risk to anything. If you look at a lot of these portfolios that VCs have, a lot of businesses fail. So, I mean, what is it to say, you know what? We're kind of tired of what they're using now as far as the covered platforms. We're going to give it a try. At least one. Within all the companies they're funding, at least one. One per, I don't know, one per 7 or 8 VCs that are really, inspired and triggered by all this thing, what's happening on Twitter. All of a sudden, you got another 4 or 5 that's coming out to trying to get your attention. Nothing? Anyway, I'm sorry for harping on this. I'm just amazed that it's, now that I'm talking about it, it just gets me kind of frustrated and upset and concerned and thinking about, okay, so is everybody on the same page in the VC world saying, oh yeah, we're good with what we got? What? Anyway, so as far as this Black Panther things go, I saw the Black Panther. Let me let you know, this is a spoiler. We are in the second weekend of Black Panther. I'm sure the numbers are going to come out by tomorrow evening, Sunday, on how Black Panther's numbers are doing. I don't expect it to be good. I don't think Black Panther is going to do another $1 billion. I think the stars aligned for the first Black Panther when it came out, because it was so fresh, it was so new. It was a look and feel that American cinema does not take enough time to spend on, and it was a phenomenon. No doubt it was a global phenomenon that attracted and caught a lot of people's eyes and ears. So I don't think it's something that can be replicated so easy. And I know it's all about numbers for the Hollywood studios, but I don't think, in terms of what happened recently and a lot involved with the passing of Chadwick Boseman, I don't think this is a film that is going to replicate the numbers that the first Black Panther did. And this is in no way says anything negative about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. In no way am I saying that this film quality is bad. This film, Wakanda Forever, was fantastic. I love the film. How they treated Chadwick Boseman's passing in the movie in the very beginning. As I said, folks, if you haven't seen Black Panther, this is the time that you should just speed up a little bit ahead, and I'll get to this FTX thing. But anyway, so the treatment of Chadwick Boseman's passing in the opening 5-10 minutes, I thought it was fantastic. They don't really mention what he died of. They just said it was an unexpected passing. I think they did say there was a disease or something, and Shuri was frantically trying to find a cure, and it didn't work out. Queen Ramonda came out and to inform that her sister that T'Challa died. But again, with the opening scene, I think it was beautiful. Let me tell you, I know for me, I'm not gonna lie, I did pretty good. I thought I was gonna, grown ass man, I thought I was gonna break down in the opening scene, but I didn't. I was like, okay, well, maybe it's not that. And no, I didn't. No. Even though I may have had a dry eye in the first 5 minutes, it didn't last too long. Because the film, it just grow on you the sadness, the unfortunate, emotions that are attached to Chadwick Boseman's passing as the movie goes on. They cast did a terrific job. Tinoch Huerta as Namor. I like the pronunciation. Everybody says Namor. Now everybody's going to be like Namor. And it's dope how they explained it. Letitia Wright as Shuri, I think she did a fantastic job in being Shuri and what she was dealing with the passing of T'Challa, and how to deal with the new enemy on the horizon with Namor. And she was at a critical point in her life, dealing with a lot, taking on the mantle of Black Panther, the death of her brother, and everything. I think it was tough, man, and especially when you want to put yourself in her shoes, it was tough. Denai Guerrero, Okoye, man, fantastic. Lupita Nyong'o as Nakia, beautiful. Lupita, as always, did her thing, man. Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger. Killmonger definitely did show up in Black Panther 2 in the way that he did, and I thought that was it was a dope surprise in the way that he showed up. Of course, when Nakia, in the way that Shuri, Nakia, in the way that Shuri they finally replicated Namor gave her a necklace that was fashioned from a flower that was infused with the vibranium powers, I guess you want to say. So he gave her the necklace, and from that necklace, she fashioned and replicated the flower or the the power of the flower to give her the strength and the speed and everything like that that's given to the Black Panther. And she finally replicated. And of course, you go into the afterworld, as you know, in Black Panther 1. And she expected to see a mother because, unfortunately, Angela Bassett, that played Queen Ramonda, she died in the film. And she expected to see a mother, but she saw Killmonger. And that was representative of the emotion that she felt, the anger, when she found that her mother died trying to save Riri Williams when Namor attacked Wakanda. Michael B. Jordan did a fantastic job in the small piece that he did. Of course, Angela Bassett, Queen Ramonda, always on top of. She did a stellar performance as Queen Ramonda. Dominique Thorne as Riri Williams. Michaela Coel, she played Anika, another one of the Dora Milaje. Florence Kasumba, another one of the Dora Milaje. She played Ao. Martin Freeman, he played the CIA agent Everett. Mabel Adina, she played Namora. I think it's his sister to Namor. And Alex Livinali, he played Atuma, one of the major warriors that was next to Namor. I thought it was fantastic. The plot, what I liked about Black Panther was they really pulled real world topics and tied it into the film, into this fictional world of Wakanda in the Marvel universe. And it always brings a sense of realism and how should I say? I think that's the best word I could put it. A sense of realism, because a lot of times, they make up these fictional worlds and these places, and you could get pulled into it. But there's something about when you really take real world scenarios and infuse it into a storyline that you connect with it all the better. And and that's what pulled me into the film, when they were really talking about Namor's background and why Namor is Namor, the villain in the film, and he explains it. I was like, yo, this is super dope. And especially when it came to the scenes of Queen Ramonda talking to the folks at the UN as far as where Wakanda places itself in the world. Now that everyone know Wakanda is there, how do you deal with other countries wanting your resources? That's a real thing. And are these countries going to respect your choice not to share vibranium with the rest of the world? Or do you have to deal with possible attacks that can come from outside forces once they know you are holding on to a resource that the rest of the world can use? And irresponsibly in some ways. Can they weaponize it? So, Queen Ramonda really talking to the UN and setting her place on where Wakanda is and her choice for her country and her people. I thought that was, again, dope. In a lot of ways, you can use real world scenarios in that sense. The movie sets were on point. Of course, Wakanda was always on point as far as how we see Wakanda in the buildings and the streets, the people that walk amongst, the royalty. Talokan was off the chain too, man. I loved how they did Talokan when Shuri actually went swimming down beneath with Namor, and basically she was a prisoner, Namor's prisoner. And I thought Talokan was nice. The way they, of course we have the crossing of the arms over the chest when they say Wakanda were forever. But in Talokan, of course, with Namor, when he sat on his throne and he gave the hand gesture, and I'm like, what hand gesture is that? And by the second or third time, I was like, oh, that's a shark's mouth. Okay, dopeness. I like that. The way he puts it in front of his hand, and just think of forming a jaws or an animal's jaws, and I thought that was hot. I was like, oh, that's hot sign. All right, cool. The CGI was dope. I like the CGI. In some ways, overall, I give the CGI 8.59. The CGI was dope. The Wakandan ships, the tech in the medical room, everything. I love the CGI. I'll put it like that, and I'll get to my criticisms later. But the CGI was on point. I love the CGI. The costumes, Ruth E. Carter did a fantabulous job in dressing everyone, especially when it came to the people of Talokan. Queen Ramonda, her outfits was off the chain. I mean, damn. Ruth E. Carter put her foot in this one. I mean, every outfit that Angela Bassett was wearing, I was like, damn. And it was, I don't know. I was like, yo, that was a dope joint. That was a joint. And then all of a sudden you go to the next scene with Green Momonda. I'm like, yo, that tops the next one. Of course, everybody's going to have their personal favorites. But yo, listen, Ruth E. Carter, I mean, everything. Almost. And I'll bring my criticism back. But like 99.5% of what she did was on point. Like, she really did it. I mean, I saw behind the scenes of Wakanda. It was on Disney Plus, I think, and they were talking about Ruth E. Carter, how making the costumes for the Dora Milaje, but also differentiating the costumes according to, I think, a militaristic order, or I believe like it was a hierarchy. So and she made a difference. I was like, yo, I was on point. Listen, chef's kiss. Shout out to Ruth E. Carter, man. I mean, watching this show makes me think, how can we hire this woman just to make clothes? Let's just start a brand, a clothing brand in a hip hop sense. And let's see if we can hire Ruth E. Carter to be the head designer. Cause this woman got an eye. Listen, I can't. The praises, a waterfall of praises on Ruth E. Carter, man. Waterfall of praises. And to see her where she went to the continent and certain African tribes and peoples where she could get the inspiration from, of course, where she can develop and fashion the clothes for the actors in the movie. Man, she did the work, man. There was no playing around. She is not playing around. Shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to everybody that was a part, not just the actors. Shout out to everyone that was involved making this film, because they did one hell of a job putting this world together, and I really do appreciate it as someone that is a movie fan, one, a Marvel movie watcher, two, and most of all being a black man in America, just to see how an African world, fictional world can look like. Especially as an African American coming from this side, what can an African world look like? Yeah, I know. Yeah, there is a really African world on Africa. Yeah, I understand. But in terms of African Americans in trying to being on the journey to finding an identity, what uniqueness can we create once we're on the road to putting that together? What does that look like? And to be honest with you, if I'm on that path and I was creating if African American people created a culture, and a lot of it is hip hop culture, but in some way it was something that we gravitated to in terms of spirituality, movement, in terms of where we would like to be. I can't say so much of physical. It's hard to. Okay, let me put it like this: if African Americans could create a world, regardless of where we are, where we create a culture, we recognize that we have a culture, and we wanted to do something specific in terms of clothes. We understand the food. We have a lot of influences, African American food and West Indian food. And there was a spiritual system that we say, hey, man, this is something that we can be a part of as a people. In everything that would make up, burial rituals, traditions, all of that. And that was a purposeful direction of where African Americans were going to go. Because that's the plight of African Americans anyway. That you see now, some people, African American people, be like, yo, I'm a Moor. Oh no, I'm FBA. Oh no, I'm a Hebrew Israelite, or I'm this, or I'm Muslim. I'm that. What if there was something specific that came from the deep core of one's heart and soul and mind? And I'm speaking specifically to African American people, and say, hey, what would we dress like? Ruth E. Carter would be the person that I would love if I was a part of that, would love to hire and say, hey, listen, there's something that I want African American people to look specifically Ruthie Carter would be the one. And there will be some inspirations from the continent because we have that connection to the continent. So what would that African American, like if African Americans say, yo, okay, we're going to create this. It's something new African, I should say loosely, something specific. Of course, dealing with hip hop, since it's the creation of black folk. What does that look like? What does the clothes look like? Yeah, I would hire Ruthie Carter. Sit down, fashion something. That would be super dope, man. Oh my God, let me tell you. Woo! Shout out to Ruthie Carter, man. I don't even know if she's on Twitter, but I definitely got to follow her. Anyway, so yeah, as I said, with the Black Panther suit, the Lupita's Wakandan suit, it was off the chain. Everything was beautiful, fantastic. Even towards the ending. Of course, everybody's going to have their differences once they see Black Panther. Some things they like, some things they didn't like, and they're going to give it their honest assessment. And I've seen a few. So it comes to my criticisms. And this is not a criticism. I'm talking about pacing. And this is not a criticism on Black Panther. This is a criticism for every critic that was like, in the third act, it was dragging. I did not feel that. I did not sense it. I know when I tune out of a movie that I don't like, then I'm like, yeah, maybe they could have did that. And probably could have in the flick if you want to, be scientific with it and deal with pacing in the film. Probably certain things that aren't necessary if they really wanted to recut it, possibly. But for what it is that was displayed on the big screen, I had no problems with the pacing. Some people said there was 8 to 10 minutes in the third act that really didn't need to be there. I thought it was fine. Really, I didn't feel in any way that this movie dragged. I thought it was fine. Some people said that, that I've heard from critics say they didn't think it was, Everett's character was necessary. He did not push the story in any way tied to his character. Like, why have him? Like, they even said that with Riri Williams. Was she necessary to have? If they would have taken her out the story, would that have affected the story in any way? Some people say it wouldn't have affected the story anyway. She was just added, whatever, and thrown in. I didn't see a problem. Let's deal with Riri Williams. It's comic book canon. Why not? Right? But again, I did not have any problems with the pacing of this film. The next thing, I loved the costumes, as I said, with Ruthie Carter. I loved it. I had no problems. But there was one thing that I wasn't too crazy about. One thing. That was the Midnight Angels armor. I didn't like it. I saw it for the first time and I was like, you see something for the first time, it's either you're going to get a great reaction or reaction. My reaction was like, oh, okay, the Midnight Angels suit. Okay, cool. But it wasn't like a wow. And then, of course, when I seen about it like the second or third time, I was like, nah. Let me check this joint out. It didn't hit me, man. And then it was almost like, are they ripping off Iron Man? Because I remember they said that I remember when Tony Stark was like, there's nobody that can recreate my Iron Man suit, right? Remember using court? I forgot which one it was. I think it was Iron Man 2. And here we are, someone recreating the Iron Man suit. And then, of course, people going to battle with me and be like, oh, it's Wakanda. It's the most advanced civilization. Of course they can recreate it. Okay, fine. But in this case, I did not like, of course they land and then it kind of like, it's the same thing with the bleeding edge Iron Man suit. The helmet comes off. So when Okoye is wearing the Midnight Angel suit to end, of course, to battle, Atuma. I forgot the exact name. Atuma, right? So it kind of like it comes off of her head halfway, and they're like, I don't know. It looks like you could probably think like mechanical braids. It's not braids, but it kind of like flows off the back end of the helmet. And the way you only see half her face, I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. It didn't catch me in any way. Yeah. And you know what? It's comic book accurate, the suit that they made. It's comic book accurate. But to be honest with you, as you know, as a comic book person and a person that watched the comic book movies, you look at the old suits in the comic books, seem like that will not translate on screen. That is not going to work. The color scheme and the way the suit looks, there were plenty of reworkings of superhero suits when they got to the big screen. They would have not have worked. It would have not. It just, it wouldn't translate well on the big screen. And I think personally, even though it was comic book accurate, the Midnight Angel suit, armor suit, it just, to me, it didn't work. It didn't work for me. That's the only thing. Redesign it. They're gonna come with a BP3 probably in the next 4 years, right? I wish it was 2, but I'll say 3 or 4. Redesign it. Get to it. I did not like it. The last thing I should say, the second to last thing. So action sequences. All right. The action sequences. I thought it was cool. Put it like that. I love Ryan Coogler. He is a fantastic storyteller, along with the writer that assists him in the script. Ryan Coogler is a fantastic director. He's great at writing with what he contributed to the script. But what I want Ryan Coogler, if he's ever going to listen to this show, you got to get a fight director. You got to get a fight choreographer. All right. And I felt like that since BP1. And I let it go with BP1 because I was like, okay, it could be the budget. They don't have a lot of people working on it, so he's got what he got. But now that, that BP is like, it is, you cannot deny Black Panther. There's no Marvel universe without Black Panther. And from what Ryan Coogler has done, you will always have Black Panther in the Marvel universe. Just no different from James Bond. All right. So you're going to have plenty T'Challas, and you're going to have plenty of Black Panther movies. They're not going anywhere. Thank you, Ryan Coogler. But my only criticism is that you got to get a fight choreographer. Plain and simple. I think that the fight scenes could be a little better. If there is someone that does not have the physicality to wield a spear or a weapon or fight scene, that's where the DP comes in to do quick cuts, angles, to hide some of the things that won't look believable in a fight scene. If you keep a camera on a fighter that's wielding a weapon for more than, say, 5 seconds, and 5 seconds, I'm telling you folks, you may think that's nothing. 5 seconds in terms of movies, because I cut video, it's forever. Okay, 5 seconds is forever. 6 seconds is forever, because now you're seeing an entire choreographed moves that it may look good when you're pre-production, but it's not. It doesn't look good in the actual principal photography, especially in post. It just looks like it just didn't look good. There was one scene with Okoye. The opening scene with Okoye when they got on the ship, when they were trying to raid the Wakandan lab, and the Dora Milaje came out, and all right, that's passable. But then there were other scenes I was like, nah. And I'll tell you how. There was a movie that came out that I felt the same way. That was Batman. I'm not gonna front. I love Christopher Nolan's Batman with what's his name? Let me see. Let me get it. Christopher Nolan's Batman. Christian Bale, right? Batman. So Christian Bale. Christian Bale is a fantastic Batman. Bruce Wayne, love him, but the fight scenes was trash. And they made up for it for Ben Affleck's Batman in Batman vs. Superman when he was in a warehouse, kicking ass. But Christian Bale's Batman was terrible. Okay, in terms of fight scenes, that is. In terms of fight scenes, did not translate well. They did quick cuts, but the quick cuts was so quick. I want to see moves. All right. I used to watch martial arts movies, Saturday morning martial arts movies. That. I love action movies. I'm telling you. So I love a good action sequence. The Bourne Ultimatum, beautifully choreographed in the fight scenes. Okay. So I love, I'll rewind it and I'll keep rewinding. Yo, did you see that move? Oh, that's tight. Oh, crazy. So, everybody knows I did martial arts throughout my life over the years, boxing, all of that. I love action movies. You cannot, if it's an action movie, you cannot, cut corners in action scenes for me. And when I saw Black Panther, I was like, nah, he needs a fight choreographer. Who's a great fight choreographer is the gentleman that was hired for John Wick. Fantastic. Oh my God. And here's a good example of how scenes are different with Black Panther. What was the introduction of Black Panther? That was Civil War. Let me see. Black Panther. Okay. So the scene when he was fighting Bucky Barnes, all right, on the rooftop when Winter Soldier was trying to get away from Captain America, he jumped over to the lower building, the roof of the building, and that's when Black Panther. It was the introduction to the world of Black Panther, right? So he's fighting Bucky Barnes. That scene was tight. That was a well choreographed fight scene. From what the fight choreographer wanted the actors to do to how it was cut in post. It was tight. It wasn't too quick. You could see the moves. You can actually get pulled in like, yo, this dude is about to do damage to Bucky Barnes. Like, Black Panther ain't coming in to play no games. Even the scene when it was Bucky Barnes fighting Captain America. Yo, that scene at the end of that, was it that particular fight scene? It was a long fight scene anyway. I think it was a second fight scene when, of course, they're being chased by Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, on the overpass. The fight gets off the overpass, and then Captain America in the bus, and then of course he's shooting the big gunner, and he runs out. Captain America runs out of the bus and stuff. Towards the end, when it was Black Widow. You thought it was going to be the end of her because Bucky Barnes was coming to the scene to just off her. That's when you saw Captain America come in. And that fight scene right there was off the chain. You know how many times I watched that? That was beautifully choreographed. No joke. I love watching that. That whole Civil War movie was dope. The Civil War movie was tight altogether, but I also watched Civil War movie for the fight scenes. I'm like, yo, that is what Ryan Coogler needs. He needs a fight choreographer. Because Black Panther in the comics, he knows like 6 or 7 or 8 different fighting styles that he was raised to be, because he was going to take this mantle of the Black Panther. So he had to know how to fight. So they taught him how to fight in these 6 or 7, 8 different fighting styles. I don't see that in the Black Panther movies. I don't see it. Okay, so the last thing I was going to mention was the mid-credit scene. Everybody's seen the mid-credit scene? For those that did see it, T'Challa Jr. was introduced. Of course, Nakia was doing some work in Haiti, and she left early on, I think, if I'm correct, when T'Challa got sick. She didn't want to be there for the funeral. She was gone for, this happened, this whole thing was set pre-blip, and when people were discussing how they were going to deal with T'Challa not being there, and in all respects to Chadwick Boseman's passing, when they were going to eventually, this is how we were taking it as far as the fans of T'Challa and Black Panther and Marvel, when they were going to reintroduce the new T'Challa, then you can set it in the blip as an example. And then shout out to E-Man News. E-Man is a movie critic out of Chicago, and he actually created the hashtag Recast T'Challa, and he had a great setup for how you were going to bring back, or how Marvel could bring back T'Challa. But of course, the way Nakia explained it, it happened pre-blip. And the kid's 6 at this point. Of course, the blip was for 5 years, and matter of fact, it was about that. I'm sorry, folks. I seen it once, and I don't think I'm going to see it again. If I'm correct, it was pre-blip. She was gone for 5 years, and the kid another year. T'Challa's death. She didn't want to come back. Because this was something that she didn't want to see T'Challa in that moment, so she was going for another year. Yeah, so this is not pre-blip. My bad. So she was around during that blip thing, and then she bounced at some point in time. Of course, the kid came into play. Yeah. All right, my bad. So the kid did happen pre-blip as far as between Nakia and T'Challa, and then she and then come back for T'Challa's funeral. And yeah, this kid's like 6 now. A year since. And I could be wrong. Who cares? I don't care about the details. Go see the movie yourself. But anyway, the fact is we have T'Challa Jr. And I guess that was a way when the whole recast T'Challa thing was really kind of bubbling up and really getting in people's faces. I think it was a last move on a reshoot, possibly to in some way be a solution to the missing T'Challa thing. And this is the wild part. Eat Man did an interview with Nate Moore, the producer of the film, and he actually said it was actually a conversation. It was actually a conversation not to bring back T'Challa ever. I mean, gone forever. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, what? I'm watching this interview. I'm like, what? I'm like, y'all understand, man? Chadwick hit me now. It hit me. Me and my wife went, the whole family went to go see Black Panther. The movie was in tears. I was in tears. My wife was in tears. It was crazy. Okay. So it hit me deep. I don't even personally know Chadwick Boseman. But in terms of the movie business, I find it's just alien to me to hear. It's how in God's name are you going to totally eradicate the character of T'Challa out of the Black Panther storyline? It doesn't happen with any other character. When what's my name? My man named Superman, Christopher Reeve. When Christopher Reeve died, okay, it wasn't like they were never going to bring back Clark Kent. Christopher Reeve. I just want to make sure I'm right. It's the same thing what they did with the Joker, with the Joker actors. Sorry, I don't know everybody's name. The same thing that they did with. How is it that they're not bringing my man up? How is it that they're not bringing this guy up? Actor Heath Ledger. There you go. How is it that Heath Ledger dies, and you think they're going to kill off the Joker? No, they're going to bring back the Joker, even if it's a couple of years, which is pretty much the time difference between movies. How is it that you want to kill off T'Challa for good? Can you imagine them killing off James Bond? Any one of the actors died like unexpectedly. Can you imagine them saying, okay, that's it. We're not going to make any more any James Bonds. That's it. It's over. Someone else could be 007. Anyone? It's unheard of. So why? I can't believe this question was posed. I'm like, not bring back T'Challa. He just got here. He literally just got here. There is untold amount of stories in Marvel lore that you could talk about with Black Panther, T'Challa. How are you not? Come on. Listen, and the thing is, Nate Moore said it with such a straight face. Like, I'm like, do you know what you're talking about? Are you hearing the words that are coming out of your mouth? Like, really? And I know it was a tragic moment. Trust me, I know they worked alongside Chadwick. He had such an impression on everybody that was involved in the movies. He was more than an actor to a lot of people. He was bigger than his job, and he exuded that in everything that he did. And I'm sure in the private conversations that he's had with these folks. So I understand the impression, the deep scar that was left when he passed away, when everybody found out that he had cancer. But to kill off T'Challa for good, 10 years and 20 years, all while these Marvel movies are being cranked out, no more T'Challa? Anyway, so as far as the T'Challa Jr. thing, I don't even think that I'll go with it. Let's see what happens. But how? Okay, so now you got this kid you want to see that if people were going to take T'Challa Jr. and he's going to be the new Black Panther. So you got to age this kid up. Everybody is full grown adults. He's 6 years old. Like, how are you going to do this? How are you going to age him up? And yeah, I know you could age him up in any way. You could do, Marvel, Multitude of Madness, whatever the damn name of that movie is. You could do, I don't know, the timeline. You could, there's any types of ways that you can age him up and it makes sense in the Marvel world. But, anyway. I mean, you can't make sense of a fictional world, right? But there's always a level of believability, even in a fictional world. Understand what I'm saying? Like, for instance, I say that Captain America is not going to lift a building. That's just not Captain America's strength. That's not going to happen. There's a certain believability meter, how should I say, level or extent, even in a fictional world. Okay, we understand that the Hulk can beat Captain America, right? I'm not going to go too deep into it because I've heard these conversations. Who's stronger, Captain America? Yeah, I've heard these conversations, but I only tread lightly in this world. I won't get deep, and then all of a sudden I'm going to, I'm not discussing who's stronger, Thor or the Hulk. But we know that there's power levels. There's a certain extent to their strength. There's a limit. Captain America is not lifting a building. That's not who he is. Thor, he has a great amount of strength. We get that. He can endure plenty, more so than Captain America. Okay? But there's got to be a certain level of believability if you're going to have this kid take the place of Chadwick Boseman. It's got to make sense. It's got to make sense, man. I would have rather have done like a variant, in one of the universes. The universes kind of like collide into each other, and T'Challa from another universe, like in Spider-Man, comes over there and he's trapped here, and I'd deal with that. But then now you gotta, because you introduced T'Challa Jr., now you gotta dig a deeper hole to make it make sense. Now T'Challa Jr. is in this the MCU storyline. Now it has to be explained how he's going to fit into the story if he does become T'Challa. And once introduced, it's got to make sense, or else you're just digging a deep hole where people are just going to be looking at the screen like, tell me they just didn't do that. So you understand what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so that's my take on Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. I give it an 8. I'll give it a solid 8. When I walked out the theater, I gave it a 7.5, but I'm gonna give it an 8. I loved it. Oh yeah, and then the last thing for Black Panther, I wouldn't necessarily see that movie again so soon. I'm sorry. You can't see that movie, and that's another reason why I don't think this movie is going to do $1 billion. If it does, it's going to take a while, because it's tied into a real world setting in terms of Chadwick Boseman passing, and they kind of weave that into the story to give respect and honor him for taking on this role as T'Challa and making it $1 billion movie with Black Panther. And this was a tribute to Chadwick, and because it's a tribute and is attached to a real world person that died, it draws a lot of emotion, and it draws a lot of sadness and despair and heartache. And it's not a movie you can see again. So when I see people say, "Yeah, I'm going to see that again. Oh my God, I can't wait to see it. I'm going to see it right now. I'm going to see it again," I'm like, what? Because you got to be a sadist. I'm sorry, you got to be a sadist. If you can see this movie, you got to be an emotionless sadist. Or you got to have emotion as a sadist, because you got to get pleasure off of other people's pain. But I'm like, God damn, bro, you could just see this movie so quick. It's not any other Marvel film. It's not like the death of Loki. Like, oh, all right, cool, the death of Loki. Oh, it's sad. Oh man, Loki dead. Nah, man, Chadwick died, and they wrapped it into the film. So my emotions wasn't for T'Challa, my emotions was for Chadwick. And for me to put myself through that again, I don't want to do that, man. It hits deep. It's not a movie that you could just see the next weekend and be like, oh, well, let me get the popcorn. Especially that. I couldn't see myself eating popcorn like, yeah, I can't wait. This is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, man. It's not the same, man. It's not the same. This movie was not the same. Will I eventually see it again? Sure. But the only way for a movie to become a $1 billion project is if there is repeat viewing. People got to see it 2, 3, 4 times and pay for it. And that's what I did with the first BP. It was a cultural force. It was a cinematic phenomenon. So of course I saw it multiple times. But this is not the same. I can't see this one. It especially at the end when they did a little montage when Shuri was finally dealing with the death of her brother T'Challa, and they had different scenes of Chadwick Boseman playing Black Panther and T'Challa, and man, it got me, man. It got me to tears, man. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the Marvel Studios, but yeah, this ain't that type of movie. If not happening. Anyway, so yeah, that was my review on Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. People go ahead and see it, man. Check it out, watch it, and yeah, you'll enjoy it. Trust me, you will. All right, so the next thing, the other thing is, wow, I spent a whole hour. I couldn't say a whole hour, but anyway, that's what the show is about. There's only 2 things. I'm looking at the time frame. All right, so this next thing is about FTX and the fall of it. This is unfortunate. This is unfortunate because it crippled the Web3 market, the Web3 space there. And once you couple it, or you attach it to the other failures, the other Web3 business failures like Terra Luna and all the other companies, and there have been some big ones, but I think this one takes the cake because it was tied in to so many other firms and businesses, and it's sad. And when I was reading up on this, I was surprised because I really wanted to know where this guy came from, Sam Bankman-Fried, and how FTX came to be. And apparently this guy was everywhere. And I'm like, what's going on FTX? I had to find out. And it's wild where this guy came from. And it says so much about how the industry is currently, how only when you go through his entire life, how you see that what we're dealing with is a prototypical founder that got funded from VCs. He came from the same background, Ivy League schools. His parents were connected. They had high positions in these Ivy League schools. They had connections to the people in politics and the government. And you can see why, when it's laid out, why he got to where he was. And how the VC business is inherently flawed when we're talking about diversity and when we're dealing with Black and Latino founders and any other founders of color. How this only reinforces what people have been saying for so long. And FTX goes back to the days of 2017 when this Sam Bankman-Fried was young, and he's already young. He's a young guy. But back in 2017, he found out that when he was going on these exchanges, he used to be a trader. He was an ex-Jane Street Capital trader. But back in 2017, he noticed that there were different prices to Bitcoin. Now on all the exchanges, Bitcoin is pretty much equal. But he found out that from going from one exchange to the next, there was difference in prices. So he took advantage of that and he bought and sold Bitcoin, sometimes at a 60% difference in its value. And he made money off of that. And after working that hustle, he eventually started his own trading house called Alameda Research. And he named it after the area, I think it was Alameda, California, where he called this new a trading company. So he created Alameda Research, and at that time he pretty much was chugging along, making a good chunk of change, and he was making $1 million a day. And after that, he made FTX, the exchange, the Bitcoin, not Bitcoin, but cryptocurrency exchange platform in 2019. And it became a $2 billion fund that seeded other crypto companies. And his personal wealth ballooned to $16 billion. He threw money at marketing. He put his brand in racing. He was dealing with the Miami basketball arena, which I had no idea that was the case. I had no idea. He became a top donor for the Democratic Party. So he was making a whole bunch of money, making a whole bunch of contacts. While he was probably FTX was the top 5 in the crypto exchange platforms. Eventually, the crypto market crashed. He borrowed money to keep his crypto businesses afloat. And at that point, when his back was against the wall, he started to take customer deposits so he can meet some of his debts that he had. And after some bankruptcies, Alameda, his sister company, Alameda lenders started to ask for their money back. He didn't have it. Eventually, SBF, let's say SBF for short, eventually the money he put into the investments, he was saying, as he told the Times, it was, quote, probably wasn't a good idea for him to do it, unquote. Yeah, whatever, dude. When he didn't have funding, as I said before, he used the customer deposits that was placed in FTX and he funneled into Alameda. And I'm talking about billions of dollars. They say about $10 billion was funneled into Alameda. And they say out of that $10 billion, $1 or $2 billion went missing. Where? People they don't know. It went against the terms of conditions in FTX. And it's illegal, and it was a violation of plenty of U.S. security laws. The companies were supposed to be separated by a firewall, but of course that didn't happen. So in the illegal money exchange, he used 2 tokens, the FTT, that was the FTX token, and Serum, that was another token that he had. So the owners of FTT were offered lower trading costs. There's a bunch of things that, that were benefits by owning FTT. They got lower trading costs and earned interest and rewards, such as like waived blockchain fees. FTX stole customer assets. He stole them and he used it as collateral for loans, and he tried to cover it up with the FTT token that he made. So eventually he got into an argument with the Binance CEO. What's the Binance CEO's name? That's one thing I forgot. Chen Zhang, Binance CEO. Changpeng Zhao. He's shortened his name to CZ. The owner of Binance, and it's one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges. And he got into an argument. Somehow he got in an argument with this guy. And at that point, it was a wrap. In 2019, Binance said it was going to invest in FTX. So many years later in 2022, SBF pressured regulators to look into Binance. That didn't go well with Changpeng Zhao. He didn't like that too much, and I think it was that point where he had him in his target, and it was a problem. So CoinDesk released a report. Some point in time, CoinDesk released a report on the FTX leaked balance sheet and said that the FTT token was trash or illiquid. A bunch of people were talking about raising questions on the solvency and his balance sheet. Zhao found out, and it said he put out that he was going to liquidate it. He liquidated all $2.1 billion of FTT. And another token, I believe, was BUSD. Its own stable coin. Yeah, that's right. His own stable coin. So he tweeted that in November 6, 2022. When that story broke, all the investors was racing to pull their money out of FTX. 3 Arrows, Voyager, Celsius, they all was trying to pull the plug. So this guy Freed got shook, and he ran to CZ. So of course CZ says, "All right, cool. I'll look into this. I'll invest into FTX and save your ass. Even though you were trying to throw me under the bus with these regulators. All right, no, this is business. Let's handle this." I don't know if it was something that he planned to do. It was like smoke and mirrors. He's trying to trick Mr. Free, but CZ was like, "Yeah, all right, cool. Let me look at these books." And of course, it calmed down SBF. Calmed his damn ass down. So, but the next day. Yo, CZ pulled out. He was like, yeah, I changed my mind. I'm not, after seeing these books, I'm not too sure about this. Fuck that. See you later, toodles. Yo, this dude, SBF, sank. Straight up sank. He watched CZ walk away. He watched Changpeng walk away as he was drowning in the circle, right down the drain. Yeah, man, that was pretty much the end. When he said that, he was like, nah, I'm not having it. So FTX filed bankruptcy, which was valued at $32 billion early in the year. They froze trading. And yeah, man, it was an issue. SEC and the Department of Justice plan to investigate FTX. That's what's currently happening. And of course, Sam Bankman-Fried stepped down, and now it's John Ray III that's taking over the CEO position. And this funny thing is, he actually oversaw the Enron bankruptcy. And Enron was a company where the executives used suspect accounting practices to prop up the value of the company in high debt. That company went bankrupt. I remember when that happened, I saw people just walking out of that building. It was a huge firm. And I could just remember people walking out with their boxes in their hands saying, hey, and I actually heard of people that lost their jobs and had to move back in their parents' house or their in-laws' house because they lost their job. So that was a huge blow to the market, Enron. And this is similar to what happened to FTX and what he was doing, these illegal moves that he was doing. So yeah, man, that's pretty much what FTX was going was their bad deals that they were making as far as what Sam was saying. But the wild thing about it is floating online that this is how these things come to pass. Caroline Ellison, she was appointed as the CEO of Alameda Research. And the funny thing is, Carol, and you see her online, everybody knows what she's like, hey, it is what it is. I'm not judging people's looks. Anyway, Caroline Ellison, her dad is Glenn Ellison, and he runs the department head of, he's a department head of economics at MIT. Interesting. Gary Gensler, prior to working at the SEC, was a professor for practice of global economics and management at MIT. Both shaking hands. So in a photo, you see Caroline's dad, Glenn, and he was in a picture with Gregory Palm, the former top Goldman Sachs lawyer. Mr. Palm was going to help secure regulatory approvals. Interesting. So Sam's dad, Joseph Bankman, he's a professor at Stanford that specialized in tax law involving Silicon Valley startups. He had speeches talking about government control of tax shelters and tax compliance problems, all this stuff. Crazy, interesting. Sam's mother, her name is Barbara Fried. She's a professor at Stanford and a handler for the Democratic Party campaign contributions. Interesting. And let's say Sam, he was an MIT grad where Caroline's father worked, and Caroline was a Stanford grad where Sam's mother and dad worked. You see how these all connections are happening, right? Sam's brother, his name is Gabe Bankman-Fried, is a former trader, and he found guarding against pandemics. He was a legislative correspondent for the House of Rep and an advisor to large political donors in the Democratic Party. Wild. Sam again, Sam's aunt is Linda P. Fried and is the dean of Columbia Mailman School for Public Health, I believe. She's also a member of the World Economic Forum Global Agenda Council on Aging. I'm not saying she was involved with any of this, but I'm sure when you work at the World Economic Forum, you can create partnerships, or you can develop friendships and possibly partnerships. You never know. Amy Wu is part of his staff over there at FTX. She was the head of ventures and commercial at FTX. FTX Ventures, started her career as an analyst for the Clinton Foundation in Botswana, launched a school in Botswana, and then eventually worked for Carinos to network with retail banks. And then she was a CFO at Discovery. Nishad Singh was a director of engineering. He donated $1.1 million to Becca Balance, I believe, political campaign in Vermont, as well as $500,000 to the Democratic Party in Oregon. Sam Trabucco, he's a co-CEO of Alameda Research. He resigned in August and now spends his time on a boat somewhere. He's chilling. Mark Wetjen, he's the CFTC, Commodity Futures Trading Commission commissioner. In 2011, he worked alongside Chairman Gary Gensler, which was later hired as the FTX head of policy and regulation, Mark Wetjen. The rest of the team came from MIT and former workers at the Jane Street Group. So you know how that happened. Yo, listen, you know what Sam said. Sam was like, yo, it kicked off for me, y'all. You want to come work for my company? Of course, his people's over at the school was like, yo, sure. What do you want us to do? That's how he got his crew to go to the Bahamas and live in some kind of, I don't know, high-rise tower. I'm not saying big high-rise, but 3 or 4 story spot where he was doing all of this business. Yeah, man. So that's what I was talking about earlier as far as connections. The prototypical founder comes from Ivy League schools. His parents are in key positions as professors at these schools. They've made connections over the years as they were professors. Aunts, uncles, cousins, whoever. They were locked in. And that's how they got ties with the Democratic Party, and they funneled a lot of money over there. Like anybody that's standing on the outside, you know, they're looking at this and I'm like, how is this actually happening? And all this is provable. All you have to do is Google it. And this was nothing but a couple of, I did a little research as far as the background on Sam Bankman-Fried, and going into, you know, articles and online on Twitter. You could find this information. All of this information is easily searchable online. And how these people get in these positions where they're unqualified. Now, I'll give it to Carolyn Ellison. She ran Alameda Research. I'll give it to her. She was of course she was in, you know, she graduated, I think, with her degree in mathematics. So she more than likely is very smart crunching numbers. But it takes a little bit more than crunching numbers in order to run a business. And my thing is, even if you're a CEO or someone that's heading a company and you're not exactly educated and fully aware of everything that takes place within the cryptocurrencies or dealing with finance or anything, you hire people that know what they're doing. You cannot be the smartest person in the room when you're running a company. That's when the company and you as a CEO founder will fail. If you have the money, hire the right people that is going to move your company where it needs to be. You personally, as a founder or CEO, you do not have to know the A to Z of a particular business. And that's just, you look, and trust me, look into any business. More than half the founders, you hear their stories and they're like, hey man, you know, I just got into this. I thought it would be something to get into. And they made sure they partnered with people that were educated and skilled in that particular field to make sure that they didn't drop into any bear traps. But that's not how it was with FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried and Caroline Ellison that was running Alameda Research. No. He hired the people, the students at his school and was like, hey, you want to get into business with me? And they did not know what they were doing. And when their back was against the wall, they suffered. They failed. That's how they got too much too soon and they did not know what they were doing. And even if they did know what they were doing, they didn't give a fuck and they hurt the Web3 market, the Web3 space. Because now everybody is fucking shit stone cold scared. They are pinching their sphincter right now dealing with Web3. Because now they're looking everywhere else and saying what other companies are having this, having similar problems, or are they doing any other shady business? This hurt the business. And it makes me think, I'm like, was this on purpose? Because now there is hella doubt in the Web3 space. I'm like, oh my God. And even people that are standing outside the Web3 space, they're hearing that same news and they're repeating that same talk saying, well, look, see, I knew I shouldn't have got into this. People ain't got nothing to do with Web3. They're in totally other businesses and they're putting up on their IG and up on Twitter and they say, well, I told you this wasn't going to work. Look at what happened. And we all look at people in the Web3 space that wants people that's about to step into it, or they're neck deep into it, and they're like, what are you going to say? Now you got to go out there and defend it. It's crazy, man. They said in the article by USA Today, Sam Bankman-Fried, he vowed to give 99% of his money to charity. He gave $50 million to, quote, pandemic relief and climate initiatives, quote unquote. Spent on ventures like, as I said, with the Miami Heat arena costing $135 million over 18 years. Spent $30 million on Super Bowl ads with comedian Larry David. This guy was spending money left and right. And was he responsibly dealing with this? I don't know. That's the thing. There was an email that was stated by Amanda Fisher. Amanda Fisher, she's the ex-senior counselor to Chair Gary Gensler and appointed the chief of staff to the SEC. There was an email that went out. If anybody has a question of what's going to happen with Sam Bankman-Fried and all his other cohorts, there was an email put out by this woman, Amanda Fisher, with Sam, Mark Wetjen, and Ryan Miller. He's the former CFTV attorney for Gary Gensler and the general counsel for FTX. Met with Gary Gensler to discuss what, quote, conditional no action relief, unquote. In other words, a get away free ticket. That's what they're doing. Quickly get out of jail free card. So everybody's connected. Everybody is connected. Now, here it is to me as Sam Bankman-Fried. You think you have all these resources in front of you surrounding you, your parents, your family, your friends, the people that have been educated somewhat, whatever levels, and in the field. You have direct connections to the people in the SEC. Here's an opportunity where you can run the business like a finely tuned machine. And what do? You fucking tank the whole market. I wouldn't say tank, I'm being over the top. But it casts so much doubt into the market. You handle it galactically irresponsibly. And now we're dealing with this. Now all the companies that were affected, investors and all NEA, Lightspeed Venture Partners, Insight Partners, Temasek, SoftBank Vision Fund, Thomas, I think, Bravo, SoftBank Vision Fund, Coinbase Ventures, Ribbit Capital, Blackstone, Multicoin Capital, Paradigm, Altimeter, I think. All these companies invested and they can't get their money out. Everybody's questioning them now. Nearly 50 investments FTX Ventures made this year said it came up to about $2 billion in funding. All that money, supposed money, destroyed. They're saying Crunchbase data set starting in 2019, the firm made 180 investments. In 2021 alone, the firm completed 100 deals. They totaled $2.3 billion. Devastating how it destroyed the market. The poison that's been inserted into the market. It's going to last for years, they say, years. And they're going to say, okay, what about government regulation? This is only going to force the government to step in and say, hey, we need to regulate this market. See, I told you this was problematic. Well, how about we just do our own CBDCs? Central bank digital currencies. No. As everybody I spoke about it before, CBDCs, they're not good. And you could look it up yourself. And if you don't, even if we have to have a separate conversation about that, we can. But it only gives so much more power to a government over you, the people. And now they want to single out Bitcoin. See, Bitcoin should be the only cryptocurrency on the market. See, all these other coins, they're suspect. Now you're giving an analog governmental body control over a decentralized market. That's like trying to control nature, man, with a dam. You can't control nature. Human beings have done magnificent things. But at the end of the day, when you get down to brass tacks, when nature decides that the dam should no longer be there, it will no longer be there. There's nothing that humans have made that can stand against nature itself. And that's what it is when the government will try to control a global decentralized market. It will not work. Now, what I think that should be done, a Web3 nonprofit with various players in the Web3 in the Web3 space, founders, financial experts, everyone. Let's draft, enforce, and make some guidelines that we can move about in the Web3 space that can work alone or more realistically in tandem with the government. But I do not think the government should have sole control on creating regulation for something that's decentralized. It won't work. Now, this is the thing. You think Web3 is going anywhere? I don't think it's going anywhere. I think this is a huge blow to the market, but it's not going anywhere. You know why? Two things. Number one, Kevin O'Leary, he's the host of Shark Tank. He was interviewed, and the interviewer asked him if he would fund Sam Bankman-Fried again. Guess what Kevin O'Leary said? He says, he said he would. Yo, amazing. This dude nearly destroyed a whole industry. And Kevin O'Leary said he would personally fund him, Sam Bankman-Fried, again. So the other thing where I feel that, this, as I said, it took a blow, but it's not going anywhere. GameFi. You still have Roblox. You're going to still have kids ask their parents, listen, can I get $10 to $20 so I could buy a new skin, a new house, a new car, and they live in this virtual world? Parents will always give to them. And then you're always going to have people on the other side of Roblox seeing the money that they're raking in, where it goes from dollars to Robux, and it sits in the program. That's cash money that people use for the game. Cryptocurrency is not going anywhere. It is not going anywhere. Now, we will move on. And this is going to be lasting. I don't know how long it's going to last. Even in my search for a VC fund to do my social media platform in the Web3 space, it's going to be hard. It's going to be supremely hard. But we're going to move on, and it's going to work. And it's going to be regulation. And of course, the government is going to be involved with that. I still push for there should be a nonprofit in the Web3 space that they could sit down and hammer out some things of how people should behave in the system, or else, people will take their money out of that specific platform. I mean, how else to do it? Because as soon as, to me, again, the government, it's like trying to get the government to regulate the Web3 space is asking Henry Ford his opinion on the 2022 car that's using hydrogen power. And he's just out of his league. He's held to the technology of his time. And as much as he did what was innovative in the automotive industry, the very start, he's out of his league now. So you can't take a government that's stuck on analog ways and use it for the digital space. In a decentralized world, it won't work out. But anyway, that's my take on that. I appreciate you guys listening to me. I am out of here. As I said, and last thing, if you have so many people connected to you in the SEC and you figured out a way to get your business set up, because they say there's so many complications in the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, as far as regulation in the financial markets with these different entities that's coming into play. Not a lot of people have that. And you want to make sure that the market that we're in that's still so young, but it has made such a global impact, you have a huge responsibility on your shoulders. And you have to make sure that you build something that's going to last forever. And do not let ego or money get in the way of changing the face of the earth in terms of how human beings work together, how we interact with one another, how we plan to trade. Our whole global economy is based on what we do as individuals and as a group. You don't know the amount of responsibility that is on your shoulders in a way that Sam Bankman-Fried did not see, and all his people around him. And of course, a little bit that goes into youth and inexperience. And he did not understand what he was getting himself into when he was given the opportunity to hold that much power and money. And without a doubt, he was holding money in his hand. There was value in that object. There was value in FTX, that business. And he squandered it. Now his parents got to deal with it. His whole family's got to deal with it. Who knows what's going to come of it? Is there going to be criminal charges on Sam and all of his people? Who knows? I'm not even going to get into that orgy thing they was talking about. Like there was some kind of crazy, you know what I mean? That's like neither here nor there. Let's just stick with the facts and what we see before us. So yeah, I'm out of here. Thank you guys for listening to me. There's going to be the last couple of shows for the new year. You know how I do. You've been listening to the show this long. I got a couple of more shows that I need to crank out, 2 or 3. And by like the first week of December, I'm out. I just shut down and I come back in the new year fresh. That's my break time. So thanks guys for listening to me. Please smash a button on the YouTube. Please follow me on IG. Please follow me on my Twitter space. Twitter space is at LifeBloodDAO. Same thing with my IG, LifeBloodDAO. Find me under Lyfeblood, GCOM Radio, G-. Make sure you put in the dash, G-COM Radio in YouTube. Also, if you're looking for it on iHeart, yes, you got to put in that dash or you won't get it. GCOM Radio. You will find me. Thanks a lot for listening. I'm out of here. Peace.
Check it.
You just listened to GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com. For the global community.
We worldwide, baby.
See you in the next go round. From right here to your town. We out.